Before the sold-out stadium world tours, before the luxury boardrooms and nine-figure business deals, before the word billionaire was ever attached to his name, there was a young man growing up in one of the toughest, most unforgiving neighborhoods in New York City. That man would eventually become known to the world as J-Z. Today, he is recognized as a titan of industry, a cultural icon, one of the most powerful figures in the history of music and business. But his journey to building a billion-dollar empire began in a place where monumental success like that seemed not just improbable, but mathematically impossible. Jay-Z was born Sean Corey Carter on December 4, 1969, in Brooklyn, New York. He grew up in the Marcy houses, a massive public housing project in the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood. In the 1970s and 80s, life in the Marcy Projects was a daily test of survival. The crack epidemic was devastating the city, bringing with it poverty, soaring crime rates, and broken families. For young Sean Carter, navigating his environment meant walking a tightrope between the dangers of the street and the desperate search for a way out. But even in the midst of that chaos, one thing began to set him apart: his profound talent for words. As a teenager, he would wake his siblings up in the middle of the night, banging drum patterns on the kitchen table and freestyling. He carried a notebook everywhere, filling the margins with rhymes, observations, and stories of the life unfolding around him. When he didn't have a pen, he would memorize the verses, developing a legendary ability to compose entire songs, entirely in his head, a technique he uses to this day. Hip-hop was exploding across New York boroughs. Rap battles were the proving grounds in neighborhoods, parks, and school hallways. Young MCS competed fiercely to prove who had the sharpest lyrics and the most commanding presence. Sean, who had taken on the moniker Jay-Z as a nod to his childhood nickname Jazzy, his mentor Jaz-O, and the Jay-Z subway lines that served Brooklyn, quickly gained a reputation as a lethal lyricist who could dominate any battle. He had the undeniable talent. He had the sharp, street-smart ambition, but talent alone didn't guarantee a ticket out. The music industry in the early 1990s was a fortress, heavily guarded by major record labels. They held the keys to distribution, marketing, and radio play. Without their stamp of approval, an artist had virtually no chance of reaching a wide audience. Jay-Z faced a wall of rejection. Record executives told him his style was too rapid, his lyrics too complex, or that he simply didn't fit the mold of what was selling at the time. No major label was willing to take a chance on him. For many aspiring artists, a string of closed doors would have been the end of the road. But Jay-Z made a decision that would not only alter the trajectory of his life, but fundamentally change the business of hip-hop forever. Instead of waiting for the industry to give him a seat at the table, he decided to build his own table. In 1995, Jay-Z teamed up with his friends Damon Dash and Kareem Biggs Burke. Together, they pooled their resources and founded their own independent label, Roc-A-Fella Records. At the time, this was an astronomical risk. They didn't have major corporate backing. Instead, they pressed their own CDs and sold them out of the trunks of their cars. They built their buzz street by street, block by block. Starting an independent label required cash, connections, and relentless confidence. But it gave Jay-Z the one asset that would become the foundation of his entire empire: control. Because he owned his master recordings and dictated his own releases. He could make music on his own terms. In 1996, Jay-Z released his debut album, Reasonable Doubt. The album was a masterpiece of storytelling. It painted hyper-detailed, cinematic pictures of street life, ambition, and the psychology of a hustler trying to survive. Critics immediately recognized its brilliance. And while it didn't achieve massive mainstream commercial success overnight, it cemented Jay-Z's status as a top-tier lyricist. More importantly, it proved that the independent Roc-A-Fella model could work. Over the next few years, Jay-Z refused to take his foot off the gas. He released albums at a breakneck pace, almost every single year. With 1998's Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, he achieved massive global success, proving he could write radio hits just as easily as complex street narratives. His fan base grew exponentially. He was headlining arenas, topping the Billboard charts, and collecting Grammy Awards. By the early 2000s, Jay-Z was arguably the biggest rapper in the world. But while his peers were focused solely on the next platinum plaque, Jay-Z was looking at the bigger picture. He was thinking like an entrepreneur. I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man. This wasn't just a clever lyric from his 2005 remix of Diamonds from Sierra Leone. It was his entire philosophy. Instead of seeing rap merely as entertainment, he viewed it as a marketing platform, a springboard to build a diversified portfolio. His first major test outside of music came in the world of fashion. In 1999, noticing that high-end fashion brands were profiting off hip-hop culture without giving back to it, Jay-Z and Damon Dash launched Rocawear. The brand exploded. Fans didn't just want to listen to Jay-Z. They wanted to dress like him, live like him, and adopt his lifestyle. Rocawear became a staple of urban fashion, ultimately growing into a massive apparel business. In 2007, Jay-Z sold the rights to the Rocawear brand to Iconix Brand Group for a staggering $204 million. But the boardroom called him in other ways. In 2004, the man who couldn't get a record deal in 1995 was named the president and CEO of Def Jam Recordings, the very corporate system that had once locked him out. During his tenure, he proved his ear for talent extended far beyond his own voice. He played a pivotal role in launching the careers of global superstars like Rihanna, Ne-Yo, and Young Jeezy. He had transitioned from the talent to the executive suite. But true wealth, he realized, didn't come from a salary. It came from ownership. He stepped down from Def Jam, bought back his contract, and in 2008, he launched his most ambitious venture yet. ROC Nation. ROC Nation wasn't just a record label. It was a full-service entertainment agency encompassing music management, touring, publishing, and eventual expansion into film and television. He was no longer just an artist. He was an institution, guiding the careers of some of the biggest names in the world. The music and management businesses were incredibly lucrative, but Jay-Z's ambitions were limitless. He began actively investing in sectors where he could leverage his cultural influence to drive monumental valuation. First, there was sports. He launched ROC Nation Sports in 2013, representing elite athletes across the NFL, NBA, and MLB. He became a certified sports agent, proving that the same management principles used for musicians worked perfectly for athletes demanding fair contracts and brand ownership. Then, there was the tech and streaming space. In 2015, Jay-Z led an investment group that purchased the Scandinavian streaming company Aspiro for $56 million, rebranding it as Tidal. At a time when streaming platforms were highly controversial for paying artists pennies, Tidal was pitched as an artist-first platform, offering high-fidelity audio and fair royalties. While Tidal faced an uphill battle against tech giants like Spotify and Apple, Jay-Z's vision paid off. In 2021, he sold a majority stake in Tidal to Jack Dorsey's Square Now Block, Inc. for nearly $300 million. And then, there was the luxury market in 2006. After a public dispute with the makers of Crystal Champagne over dismissive comments about the hip-hop community, Jay-Z boycotted the brand. In its place, he introduced a relatively unknown gold bottle in his music video for Show Me What You Got. That brand was Armand de Brignac, known as Ace of Spades. Jay-Z eventually bought the entire company. By leveraging his cultural cachet, he turned Ace of Spades into a premium luxury staple. In 2021, luxury conglomerate LVMH purchased a 50% stake in the champagne brand, valuing the company at over $600 million. He repeated this masterclass in brand building with Dias, a joint venture cognac with Bacardi, creating yet another brand valued in the hundreds of millions. In 2019, the financial world officially recognized what the culture had known for years. Forbes magazine announced that Jay-Z's net worth had crossed the 10-figure mark. He was officially a billionaire. It was the first time a hip-hop artist had ever reached that echelon of wealth. For millions of fans, that milestone meant far more than just commas on a bank statement. It represented the ultimate evolution of a culture. Hip-hop, a genre born from the resourcefulness of marginalized youth in the Bronx and Brooklyn, had now produced a global titan of industry. Jay-Z had taken the grit, the negotiation tactics, and the survival instincts forged in the Marcy Projects, and applied them flawlessly to corporate America. Even at the pinnacle of wealth, he never stopped building. Alongside his wife, Beyoncé, he formed a cultural dynasty. Together, they have launched world tours, championed emerging artists, and engaged in massive philanthropic efforts, notably through Team ROC, the social justice division of ROC Nation that fights against police brutality, prison conditions, and systemic injustice. Looking back, the rise of Sean Carter is one of the greatest American success stories of the modern era. Young man from Brooklyn who was told his voice wasn't marketable, built his own label, turned that label into a lifestyle, and transformed that lifestyle into a diversified, billion-dollar empire. His journey is a testament to the power of ownership. It proves that when the world refuses to give you an opportunity, you have the power to create your own. Today, the name Jay-Z means far more than music. It means vision. It means unyielding ambition. And it proves that the most enduring empires aren't given, they are built, rhyme by rhyme, brick by brick, by those with the courage to bet on themselves.